being found out, and because of which there is a need of classification of this element. And how the 300 years it took to classify the elements that we know now into a long form of periodic table. That is the point to study in this session. Let me share the screen for you so that we will understand more about the journey of classification of elements. Right. So, hope this is being seen. Hello. So today we'll discuss about periodic table and periodicity in properties of elements. Right. Now, question comes, why the classification is? Over the years, as number of elements were increasing, it is difficult to know about the properties and understand and remember, and also to study the compounds of them individually. Hence, scientists started organizing them in a systematic way. What is the systematic way? So those which are similar properties are placed together, and those which are dissimilar are kept away. This was the first attempt which was being done. Since the 19th century, the scientists tried to classify with the different approaches. In 1817, the German scientist Johann Doberner tried to classify the elements in group of threes, and he observed that the elements which are being clubbed in the group of threes will show the similarity in properties. So the elements known at his time, he took the one which is similar to the other and grouped as triads. We can see the three different groups now. Lithium, sodium, potassium is one of the triad. Similarly, iodine, bromine, chlorine, calcium, strontium, barium are the three triads that we know. Here, he also demonstrated that when these elements are kept in the increasing order of atomic weight, middle one will be the average of the other two, and he called this as law of triads. For instance, lithium, sodium, and potassium, these are having atomic weights 7, 23, and 39. Here, the middle element sodium is having average atomic mass of 7 and 39. So 39 plus 7 divided by 2 will get 23. That is the atomic weight of the middle element. But this work only for the few elements was being seen, and therefore it is dismissed as it is a mere coincidence. It is a mere coincidence. In 1865, John Alexander Newland, an English chemist, has proposed law of octaves. According to law of octaves, when the elements are arranged in the increasing order of atomic weight, every 8th element is similar to the first element. Here, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, these elements are in the increasing order of the atomic weight, and the 8th element being sodium is written below the lithium, and lithium and sodium are resembling in the property. Similarly, taking Na as first element, sodium as first element, potassium is the 8th element. Therefore, lithium, sodium, potassium belongs to one group and they show similarity in the properties. So this trend resembles the octaves, musical notes, and therefore it is called law of octaves. As you know, in music, the 8th note resembles the first note. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, and again sa. So hence, it was popularly known as Newland's law of octaves. But it is found to be true only for the elements up to calcium. Heavier elements which were not fallen under this periodic law. Therefore, this periodic way of classification is dismissed. In 1869, the evolution of periodic table started by Mendeleev. Dmitry Mendeleev, a Russian chemist, published a periodic table classifying all the 63 elements known at his time. Mendeleev's periodic table states that physical and chemical properties of elements are the periodic functions of their atomic weights. Mendeleev created a periodic table by listing the elements in a row accordance with increasing of atomic weight. And he started the new row when characteristic of the element began to repeat. By this, element with the same property are arranged one below the other in a vertical column. And he called this vertical column as groups. And the elements present in groups are similar in their physical and chemical properties. And the elements which are in a horizontal rows are called series. And the resultant horizontal rows were called series. And another important thing is his vision of classifying the elements and leaving the gaps in the periodic table. He has put gaps in the periodic table for the unknown elements. He left the gaps below aluminium, silicon, and boron. And he called them as Eka aluminium, Eka silicon, and Eka boron. These were the temporary names given by Mendeleev for the elements which were not discovered yet. He also predicted the existence of these elements and he explained the properties of these elements. Later, these elements were found and they were as predicted by the Mendeleev. These elements were gallium, germanium, and scandium. However, his periodic table also have some anomalies, but his confident predictions and methods of classification appreciated worldwide and called him as father of periodic table. These anomalies or limitations of periodic table are: position of the hydrogen was not correctly placed. It is placed along with the very reactive metals. Second thing is about no place for isotopes. Isotopes are the species having the same atomic number but different mass number. Therefore, their placement in the isotopes was a question mark. Thirdly, placement of elements having greater atomic mass before the elements having the lower atomic mass was not being explained by him. But discoveries made on subatomic particles and particles of the elements led to the development of modern periodic table. In 1912, Henry Moseley, a young English physicist, has observed regularities in characteristic spectra of elements. And based on his observation, he found that atomic number is the fundamental property of the element as compared to the atomic mass. Based on Moseley's observation, Mendeleev's periodic table is modified to modern periodic table law. So modern periodic law states that elements are the periodic functions of the atomic number. And you know that long form periodic table consisting of 7 periods and 18 groups. And this is based on atomic number of the element. This is how the modern periodic table or long form periodic table looks. So 18 groups, the vertical columns, and the modern periodic table is based on the electronic configuration. The vertical column, the one which is present in the vertical columns, are called groups. You can see helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. These belongs to one group and they show resemblance in property as it is stated by the Mendeleev. The horizontal one is called periods. Then these number of elements present in the modern periodic table are different. What I mean is, in the first period there are only 2 elements, second period there are 8 elements, third period there are again 8 elements, fourth 18, and so on. This is based on the electronic configurations. You can see the electronic configuration of elements in a period. A second period consisting of lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. These are the elements of the second period in the modern periodic table. All these atoms of the elements are having 2 shells, but the second shell is gradually increases with the number of electrons. As the number of electrons increases, it is being substituted into the another group, gradual, in the logical way. If you take the electronic configuration of the elements in a group, these elements have the same electronic configuration. For example, 13th group consisting of boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, and thallium. All these are having the general electronic configuration of Ns2, Np1. And since they are having same valence electrons, they show resemblance in the chemical properties. The modern periodic table also classify the elements as S block, P block, D block, and S block. S block consisting of the elements in which electrons enter to the S subshell in the electronic configuration. First group of elements of S block is called alkali metals, and second group elements called alkaline earth metals. So here is P block at the right corner of the periodic table, and in the middle there is transition elements or D block elements, and there are inner transition elements or F block elements which are in the downside of the periodic table in 2 periods. So remember that elements are arranged in well-orderly way in the modern periodic table based on electronic configurations. The 18th group of elements are called noble gases, and they are kept separately at the right-hand side of the periodic table. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, with the 17th group elements, they are called as halogens because they have got C origin. And 16th group elements, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, and polonium, are called chalcogens because they are ore forming. And 15th group elements are called as nicogens. and these are the names which are being given to the elements of the groups. Now, the P block, S block elements and P block elements together, they are called as representative elements. And D block elements are transition elements, as they bring the change from strong metallic property to non-metallic property. Now, let us see the elements which are having the atomic number more than 92, or the elements after uranium, they are called trans-uranium elements. Uranium to fermium, they are called trans-uranium elements, and the elements which are after the fermium are called trans-fermium elements. Now, the elements are being named with the name of recognizable scientists who have contributed good to the field of chemistry, and the element with atomic number 102 was named as nobelium, which is from the name of Alfred Nobel, and the element 103 is named as lawrencium, to remember the contributions of Ernest Lawrence. There are some controversies in the naming of the elements also. The atomic element with atomic number 104 was being found out by Soviet Union people and also Americans. Americans named it as Rutherfordium, and Soviet called it as Kurchatovium. In order to have a fixed name for an element, temporarily the name is being specified by IUPAC. International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry is a group of scientists which decide the name of the element until its properties are clearly published. For the sake of giving the temporary names, the nomenclature of the element with atomic number greater than 10 is being taken up. It is made with the digital roots. If the digit 0 is present, then we have to spell nil. If 1 is the digit, 2 bi, 3 tri, 4 quad, 5 pen, 6 hex, 7 sept, 8 oct, and 9 n. These are the abbreviations which put together will give the temporary symbol of the element, and digits together with the suffix IUM give the name of it. For example, an element with atomic number 118 is given a temporary name, temporary symbol of UUO, as the U stands for un, as digit 1 is taken as octium is the temporary name of the element with atomic number 118. So this is the way the temporary names are to be given. But however, last year, the completion of naming of all the elements up to 118 is being done by IUPAC. So let us try to see the 118 elements here which are being named, and also the symbols of that you can able to see. So let us quickly recapitulate what is being taught. We have learnt about the modern periodic table, which consists of 7 periods and 18 groups. The elements are classified into 4 different blocks as SPDF. Electronic configuration determines the position of the elements in the modern periodic table. And we also seen nomenclature of the elements with atomic number greater than 100, and it is done by using Latin digital roots. Let us have a question to think. Give the IUPAC name of the element whose atomic number is 109. As 1, for the 1 we use un, for 0 nil, for the 9 n. The name of the element whose atomic number is 109 should be spelled as un nil nnium. Un nil nnium. Second question, how many elements are there in the fourth period of the long form periodic table? Fourth period of the long form of periodic table consisting of 18 elements. 2 from S block, 10 from the D block, and 6 from the P block. So there are totally 18 elements present there. Which one of the following subshell is not filled in the fifth period? It's an interesting question. Remember that 5D is not being filled. 5D is not being filled in the fifth period, but whereas 4D is being filled. 4D inner orbitals are being filled. So as it goes with electronic configuration and energy of the subshells. Coming to the next kind of question, the law of triads is applicable to the group of, 4 answers are there. Try to choose one of the answers. The law of triads is applicable to the group of chlorine, bromine, iodine, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sodium, potassium, rubidium, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So naturally, first is the answer, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Second question, chlorine, bromine, iodine represent the Daubeney triad, and the atomic masses of chlorine and iodine are being given in this way, 35.5 U and 127 U respectively. The atomic mass of bromine is, as you know, the periodic law from the stated by the Daubeney is the element which is in the middle is having the average atomic mass of the other two. So bromine being the middle element, it should have average atomic mass between 35.5 and 127. The answer will be 81.25. So we will take a small break and come back to see the properties of periodic properties of the elements. Let us see the periodic properties of the elements, and we will take up the next part of it. Still then, stay tuned. So let us try to see about the different properties associated with. I will go for sharing the screen once again. Light. Now, here are the properties of the elements. These are called atomic properties. Atomic radius, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, and electronegativity. These are called atomic properties because these are the properties of single atom of the element. And how these are useful in understanding the nature of the element, let us try to see that. Now, what is atomic radius? Atomic radius is defined as the distance between the center of the nucleus to the point up to which the density of the electron is maximum. Measuring the atomic radius is a difficult task because its size is too small, that is of the order 1.2 angstrom or 1.2 into 10 to the power minus 10 meter. And another difficulty is it is not having well-defined boundary. And it is possible to measure, therefore, when atoms are in the combined state. So we measure the atomic radius when atom is in the combined state. So depending upon the way it combines, atomic radius can be classified as covalent radius, metallic radius, and van der Waals radius. What is covalent radius? Suppose the two atoms are bonded by sharing electrons. We say there exists a covalent bond. By measuring the internuclear distances, we can measure covalent diameter. And half of the covalent diameter is called covalent radius. So this is the way an atomic radius of an atom which is bonded covalently is being determined. But there is a problem in covalent radius is obtained when atom is having overlapped orbitals. Actual radius of the atom may be more than the covalent radius. Now, let us take the example of chlorine. When the two chlorine atoms combine, gives Cl2 molecule of chlorine, we can able to find out internucleus distance. Since both are same atoms, we can able to apply the formula to find out covalent radius as the internuclear distance divided by 2. So for the homoatomic molecules, we can able to find out covalent radius by dividing the covalent diameter by 2. So there can be a metallic radius. In metal, the atoms are well arranged in the crystal lattice, and each atom in the middle may overlap with several atoms surrounding of it. Here also, the internuclear distance can be measured, and this distance divided by 2 will give metallic radius. So, metallic radius is half of metallic diameter, and covalent radius and metallic radius, these can be determined by the X-ray method or spectroscopic methods, because position of the nucleus can be determined but not the position of electrons. Because of the position of the protons, we can able to find out internuclear distance by the X-ray method or spectroscopic method, and dividing it by 2, we will get the atomic radius. Now coming to the van der Waals radius. Van der Waals radius is the half of the distance between the non-bonded atoms. Here, the atoms are not bonded either by covalently or any other force, but we take the atoms which are nearest, and Dividing the internuclear distance of this by 2, we get van der Waals radius. And this is practically happens for the noble gases. Noble gases occur in nature as single atoms. They do not combine. Therefore, we measure the distance between two atoms of the helium or two atoms of the noble gases and divide the distance by 2 will give the internuclear get van der Waals radius. Here use a clear picture about it. So radius internuclear distance is measured as 198 picometer, divided by 2 will give covalent radius, and distance between the adjacent atoms is more 360 picometer, and its and van der Waals radius is 180 picometer, right? So always van der Waals radius that is 180 picometer is more than the covalent radius. In the periodic table, we find the trend like this. From left to right, when we move in the periodic table, the atomic radius decreases, and down the group, atomic radius increases. Graphically, when we see lithium to cesium, the first group elements, the increase in the atomic number, which led to the increase in atomic radius, you can see. It may be the case of first group or the 17th group, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. So these also show the same trend. It is all because of the again electronic configuration. Now coming to the groups, why down the group there is increase in the size? It is because the number of shells goes on increasing. In the first group, lithium has got 2 shells, n is equal to 2. And down the group, quantum number increases. For francium, n is 7. As quantum number increases, number of shell increases, size of the atom also increases. In case of periods, second period as illustrative example is being taken, lithium to fluorine, the radius decreases. Why it is so? Lithium to fluorine or sodium to chlorine, the atomic radius decreases. It is because the increased effective nuclear charge. You can see the elements of second period, all these are having only 2 shells, but still the size of the atom is not same because number of protons in these atoms are different. Even though all of them are having 2 shells, number of protons goes on increasing from left to right. As number of protons increases, the strength to attract the electron increases, thereby the size of the atom decreases. So along the period, atomic size decreases. There is ionic radius. Ions may be cations or anions, and accordingly we can have cationic and anionic radius. Now you know that as the electron is being removed from the shell, we get a cation. And the ionic radius is the increase. The ionic radius is when the electron is being removed, the distance between the nucleus and the final last electron. The cations are always smaller than the parent atom. We see that cations are always smaller than parent atom. The ions are also having same trend as atoms. You can see atomic radius, change in the atomic radius along a group, and also the change in atomic radius of ions. So they have got similar change in the periodic table. Now, what is anion? How the anion is being formed? Anion is being formed by insertion of an electron. So after getting an electron, it becomes negatively charged. Fluorine atom is having 64 picometer, whereas fluoride ion is having 136 picometer. So increase in the atomic number, increase in the atomic size, ionic size is due to the ratio of protons and electrons. As number of electrons increases, then the protons, the size increases. Now remember that a positive ion, that is cation, is smaller than the corresponding atom, and negative ion is bigger than the corresponding atom. Now in the periodic table, the same trend as the atomic size is being seen in the ionic size. So this is the periodic table which depicts the cation and anionic size and the way they change in the periodic table. Now, what are these isoelectronic species? Isoelectronic species are the atoms or ions that have the same number of electrons. Suppose nitride ion, N3 minus ion, oxide ion, O2 minus ion, all these are having the same number of electrons, then they are isoelectronic species. Nitrogen is having atomic number 7 and the nitride ion is formed by receiving 3 electrons, so that there are 10 electrons. Similarly, oxide ion also is having 10 electrons. All these are having 10 electrons, therefore they are isoelectronic species. But if you look at the size of it, from nitride ion to aluminum ion, the size decreases. The reason is can be noted here. Even though all of these are having 10 electrons, the number of protons changes. So you have not done any change in the protons. So number of protons is 13 in case of aluminium. As number of protons increases, size decreases. Now what is this ionization enthalpy or ionization energy? So this is another atomic property. When the electrons of the outermost orbit is being removed, and the energy required for the removal of this electron is called ionization enthalpy. So this is the energy required to remove the outermost electron of an atom, outermost electron of free gaseous atom. So the unit of ionization enthalpy is kilojoules per mole. And the energy required to remove an electron from the outermost orbit of an isolated gaseous atom is called, atom in its ground state is called as ionization energy, as its unit is kilojoule per mole. And there are successive ionization enthalpy. Removal of one electron is denoted as IH1, delta IH1. So removal of the second electron is the energy required for the process is called second ionization enthalpy, and so on. Always second ionization enthalpy will be higher than the first ionization enthalpies. So ionization enthalpy, successive ionization enthalpies increases for an atom. Let us look at the graphical representations. The ionization enthalpy of the noble gases is found to be highest compared to the other elements. This shows that the noble gases are stable. Noble gases are stable. Why they are stable? Probably it is due to the number of electrons present in the outermost orbit. They have completely filled shells. Therefore, they are stable, and removal of an electron from that causes more energy, takes more energy. Now look at the ionization enthalpy of first group elements: lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, and cesium. All these are having one more electron than the noble gas configuration. So removal of this electron, they attain noble gas configuration, which is more stable. So anything that leads to stability will need less energy. Therefore, ionization enthalpy of alkali metals need less energy. Coming to the ionization enthalpy of the second period, you find several variations along the period. Lithium to beryllium increases and beryllium to boron decreases. Again, boron to nitrogen, it increases. Nitrogen to oxygen, there is an anomaly. Let us try to give the reason for this. Let us look at the electronic configuration of boron and beryllium. Boron is having one more electron in the p orbital, but beryllium is having fully filled s orbital. Since an unpaired electron is being present, this removal of this need less energy. Therefore, boron ionization enthalpy is less than that of beryllium. Similarly, nitrogen and oxygen. Look at the electronic configuration of this. Nitrogen has half-filled stability. So, one electron each in the p orbital called half-filled stability. But oxygen is having one electron, which is by removal of which it attains half-filled stability. Therefore, removal of electron leads to stability. Less energy is required for the oxygen. So, ionization enthalpy for the oxygen is less compared to nitrogen. Now, along with a group, ionization enthalpy decreases. As ionization enthalpy decreases, its metallic property increases. As you know that lithium to cesium atomic size increases, the electrons are loosely held to the nucleus, which can be easily removed. Therefore, cesium is having less ionization enthalpy in comparison with lithium. Now, what is this electron gain enthalpy? Electron gain enthalpy is the energy accompanying the process when electron is added to the neutral gaseous atom to convert it into negative ion. So, electron is to be added to neutral atom. So, the process of adding this electron may be endothermic or exothermic. So, delta HEG is electron gain enthalpy may have positive value or negative value. So, it is negative value when electrons are added, are being attracted more by the nucleus, then the delta H is negative. And delta HEG is positive if electrons added finds more repulsion. Now, in case of group 17, electron gain enthalpy are highly negative because for the 17th group elements, only one electron is needed to complete the configuration of noble gases. Therefore, electron addition will lead to stability, more energy is released. Group 18, noble gases, the electron gain enthalpy is positive. This electron gain enthalpy is positive. Now, this is the periodic trend of electron gain enthalpy. So, it is better to say electron gain enthalpy will become less and less negative down the group, less and less negative down the group, and electron gain enthalpy will more and more negative across a period, or from left to right of the periodic table, the electron gain enthalpy becomes more and more negative. So, here is the data and an anomaly also. So, 16th and 17th group, as we move down the group, the electron gain enthalpy should be less negative, but in this case, oxygen to sulfur or fluorine to chlorine, the electron gain enthalpy becomes more negative. Why it could be so? Catch the reason. This sulfur in compared to oxygen is having greater atomic size. The large orbital space reduces electron repulsion. Fluorine being a very small atom compared to chlorine, the addition of an electron leads to more electron repulsion. Now, the fourth property is electronegativity. What is electronegativity? Electronegativity is
time.
Okay, sir. Shall I conclude? So, electron gain enthalpy is the power of gaining the electron by the shared orbital. Now, there are many scales. Pauling scale is one of the popular to measure electronegativity. So, electronegativity is simply number which is being assigned, and fluorine is being given most electronegative element is given as number 4. Water can be taken as an example. Water is polar molecule because of the presence of most electronegative oxygen and less electronegative hydrogen in it. So, non-metallic character increases, the electronegativity value also increases. And this is the periodic trend that we find. And so, let you take this or have the question for the discussion. As the time is going up, I will end up with the discussion of two questions. How is electronegativity related to the non-metallic property of the element? As you know, non-metallic property increases, electronegativity also increases. Second ionization of an element is higher than that of first ionization enthalpy. Give reason. It is because the second ionization enthalpy, you are going to remove an electron from already positively charged atom. Therefore, second ionization enthalpy need more energy, right? So these are the kind of questions that are there present in the exercises. Keep doing and keep solving. The elements placed in the group number 18 are called noble gases. Alkali and alkaline earth metals are collectively called as S block elements. The general configurations of halogens is NS2, NP5. The name a p block element, which is a gas other than the noble gas or a halogen. P block element, which is a gas. Nitrogen is available as gas. Name the group that comprises D block elements. This is transition elements. Thank you. Thank you for watching and being listened.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.